Evolution is the fascinating story of our planet's billions of years of history and how life has changed throughout this time. But let's admit it, most people think of evolution as a world filled with complex theories and hard to understand scientific terms. So, what really is evolution? Let's explore this topic in a simple and comprehensible way. Evolution is the process by which living organisms change over time. This process occurs through the accumulation of small genetic changes, which help organisms adapt to their environments. Now, you might be thinking, bro, I learned this in school. But wait, the reality is much more interesting and complex. Imagine that your current self is a descendant of a tiny microbe that lived millions of years ago. Yes, it sounds incredible, but that's exactly what evolution tells us. There are two main mechanisms at the heart of evolution: natural selection and mutations. Natural selection, in its simplest form, means that nature selects the best adapted individuals. Let's explain this with an example. Think about the gazelles living on the African savanna. The fastest gazelles manage to escape from lions and survive. These fast gazelles pass on their genes to the next generation. Over time, the gazelle population consists of faster individuals. This is natural selection. Bro, give me an example other than fast-running gazelles, you say. Let's look at butterflies. During the Industrial Revolution in England, as air pollution increased, darker colored butterflies camouflaged better and survived, while lighter colored butterflies were preyed upon. The result? Dark colored butterflies became dominant. This is how simple yet effective natural selection is. Now let's talk about mutations. Mutations are random changes in our genetic code. Most mutations are harmless, some are harmful, but occasionally some are beneficial. These beneficial mutations help organisms better adapt to their environments. For example, bacteria developing resistance to antibiotics is a result of beneficial mutations. A small mutation in bacteria gives them a survival advantage, and this gene quickly spreads in the population. Evolution explains not only how individual organisms change over time, but also how species evolve. Macroevolution, or the evolution of species, occurs over long periods and leads to the emergence of new species. From the evolution of dinosaurs to birds and fish to land animals, macroevolution is evident everywhere. Yes, you heard right. The birds we see today are descendants of dinosaurs that lived millions of years ago. Really? Dinosaurs and birds, you might say? Yes, fossils and genetic research clearly show this. Some characteristics of dinosaurs changed over time, transforming into the features of birds. Wings, feathers, and even the ability to fly are part of this fascinating story of evolution. However, evolution does not always proceed in a straight line. Species sometimes change rapidly, and sometimes remain almost unchanged for long periods. To understand this, we need to look at the punctuated equilibrium theory. This theory suggests that species remain stable for most of their history, but rapidly evolve in response to environmental changes or significant events. For example, a massive volcanic eruption or an asteroid impact can cause significant changes in ecosystems, leading to rapid adaptation or extinction of species. Evolution also explains biological diversity. The millions of species on Earth have diversified through the process of evolution. Genetic diversity allows species to adapt to changing environmental conditions, ensuring the continuity of life. So, from different flower species to various animals, every living organism you see is a product of evolution. And what about humans? Humans are also part of evolution. For instance, the ability of some people to survive at high altitudes with low oxygen levels can be explained by a mutation found in the genomes of Tibetans. This mutation gives them a survival advantage in harsh environmental conditions. The amount of melanin in human skin is also a result of evolution. People living in different geographic regions have different melanin levels according to their exposure to sunlight. People living in Northern Europe have lighter skin because there is less sunlight, and their bodies need to absorb more sunlight to synthesize vitamin D. In contrast, people living in equatorial regions have darker skin because there is more intense sunlight, and melanin provides protection against harmful UV rays. Although widely accepted in the scientific community, still leads to many misunderstandings and debates. However, the theory of evolution is supported by findings from genetics, paleontology, biology, and many other scientific fields. Scientists study various pieces of evidence, from fossil records to genetic sequences, to understand how evolution works and how life changes over time. Many people find it difficult to grasp evolution because this process occurs over time scales far beyond a human lifetime. Evolution progresses in small steps over millions or even billions of years. However, these small changes accumulate over time to create significant differences. Imagine that a small genetic mutation accumulates over thousands of generations, eventually leading to a completely new species. Evolution also explains the dynamic nature of biological diversity in ecosystems. Organisms must continuously adapt to changing environmental conditions. This adaptation process is one of the driving forces of evolution. For example, climate change in a region can accelerate the evolution of the organisms living there. During the ice ages, species that could adapt to cold climate conditions survived, while those that couldn't perished. Such environmental changes can speed up the evolutionary process and lead to the emergence of new species. Another important aspect of evolution is the concept of common ancestry. Evolution posits that all living organisms have descended from a common ancestor. This can be thought of as a tree of life. The roots of the tree represent the origin of life, while the branches represent the evolutionary paths of different species. Therefore, humans, whales, birds, and even trees are located on different branches of the tree of life but share the same roots. At this point, let's look at some specific examples of how evolution works. For instance, bacteria developing antibiotic resistance is a vivid example of evolution. Bacteria are microorganisms that can reproduce rapidly, and this rapid reproduction leads to more frequent genetic mutations. During the use of antibiotics, some mutations in bacteria make them resistant to the antibiotic. These resistant bacteria survive and reproduce, spreading antibiotic resistance. Another example is the Darwin's finches on the Galapagos Islands. These finches have evolved to adapt to different food sources on different islands. The shape and size of the finches' beaks vary according to the type of food they consume. These differences have evolved through natural selection and played a crucial role in Darwin's development of the theory of evolution. Evolution also explains the extinction processes of species. Species can become extinct due to environmental changes, competition, diseases, and other factors. The extinction of dinosaurs resulted from a significant environmental change. About 66 million years ago, a massive asteroid impact caused worldwide climate changes and ecosystem collapses. This event led to the extinction of most dinosaur species, but some small dinosaur species evolved into the birds we see today. Evolution is also a part of human culture and technology. Humans have developed technology and culture to adapt to their environments. The invention of agriculture allowed humans to settle and develop societies. This is an important example of cultural evolution alongside genetic evolution. Cultural evolution is the process of transmitting and developing knowledge across generations. This process enables humans to adapt to their environments and survive. The operation of evolution is possible through the transmission of genetic information from generation to generation. This information is carried by a molecule called DNA. DNA is a long molecule that encodes genetic information. Every organism carries all the information necessary for its development and functioning in its DNA. Genetic changes occur through mutations in DNA. These mutations can sometimes help organisms better adapt to their environments. The theory of evolution was independently developed by Charles Darwin and Alfred Russel Wallace in the 19th century. Darwin's 1859 book On the Origin of Species is one of the cornerstones of the theory of evolution. Darwin introduced the concept of evolution through natural selection, and this idea gained wide acceptance in the scientific community. Wallace, meanwhile, arrived at similar conclusions through his observations in tropical regions. Today, the theory of evolution is supported by findings from genetics, paleontology, biology, and other scientific fields. Genetic studies help us understand how evolution works and how organisms change genetically. Fossil records allow us to trace the evolutionary history of past species. Biological studies show how the physical and behavioral characteristics of organisms are shaped by evolutionary processes. The theory of evolution is a topic of interest not only for scientists but also for societies. Teaching evolution in educational systems is important for understanding and accepting the theory of evolution. Understanding evolution helps people become more conscious and informed about nature and biological processes. Evolution also has great importance in fields like biotechnology and medicine. Genetic engineering and treatment methods are developed based on principles derived from evolutionary biology. We can even see the traces of evolution in our bodies. For example, during the development of a human embryo, many similarities with the embryos of other animals are evident. These similarities reflect our evolutionary common ancestors. Additionally, some structures in our bodies that have become non-functional are also evidence of evolution. For instance, the appendix, a vestigial organ, was once part of our ancestors' digestive system, but has largely lost its function in modern humans. In conclusion, evolution is a fundamental biological process that helps us understand the diversity and complexity of life. It explains how organisms evolve through genetic changes, adapt to their environments, and how new species emerge. Evolution sheds light on the past of living organisms and provides clues about how they might change in the future. Therefore, evolution is not just a theory, but life itself. See you in the next video. Take care.